guess that's the fate I chose, man.
And so, the hunt begins again.
Wow. Okay. Wow, the credits of Bloodborne. If you'd have said to me like 4 or 5 months ago, will you ever be seeing the credits of Bloodborne? I probably would have said no, because even though it was in my list of things I wanted to play, I thought, would I ever get round to it? Even if I did, would I be willing to complete the game? Would I be good enough to get anywhere with it? These are all like questions that would lead me to think I probably wouldn't have finished it. But here I am looking at the credits right now, having just beaten Bloodborne for the first time. My god, that was an experience, man. Where to begin? Well, story-wise, I have so little speculation about what I think has happened here, because, I mean, clearly at the end, it seemed like you were given a choice of whether to wake up from the dream or to continue going, and I think this means that we have 2 possible endings here. I mean, if that's the case, then I feel like I need to kind of play again with the other option being chosen. So, I mean, is there a way that we get to wake up and there's a new day and there's a new dawn, or is it just perpetually stuck in this hunter's dream? Because then what was it all for? So it's hard to think. I mean, it's like, I'm trying to think. It's like the hunter's dream is our character's dream, but then the altars are like different. It's like a dream version of Yharnam, so it's a dream version of reality. And by slaying all the beasts or whatever, because I'm trying to think, like, how does this pertain to like the newborn and all that business? It's really, there's just so much to it that I'm just not really, I didn't get to follow. I wasn't able to really get into in that sense. The lore of this game is something that I'm really interested in taking a look at. So now that I'm done with this, I will definitely be going onto YouTube and just watching like interpretations of what they think happened here and all that kind of stuff, because there's so many like item descriptions and like little tidbits from cutscenes and that kind of stuff, that in terms of story, I can't really say anything, because I was more focused on like the gameplay and trying to get through and trying to beat the game kind of thing. So in terms of story, I tried to read stuff, like I had a look at some item descriptions and that kind of stuff when I could. But for me personally, like having got through it first time through, there was not enough for me to really piece together a coherent story. And I think the fact that there's so much discussion about what the game's actually about and the story, I think is probably a common thing for most first timers that play through the game like me. So, let me talk about the actual game outside of the story. I thought the world was absolutely fantastic. The world, the format, like the way, the amount of times where I felt like I was lost in this game and I just need to go that little bit further and investigate that a little bit more, and I would find a shortcut or I'd find a lamp or something like that. At times that felt almost as rewarding as being a boss. Like that relief when you've got a lot of blood echoes or you haven't seen anywhere new for a while and you're just looking and you're searching and you would find something like that. That was really something that I found quite rewarding. I thought like the world itself, it just looked beautiful. The architecture, the buildings, there was a decent variety of environments. It did feel very samey at the start, but I think eventually like we had the Forbidden Forest and Bergenworth and those kind of areas, and that tended to open it up a little bit more, so I was quite happy with that. Now, just the general atmosphere and the vibe that I got, like the sound effects and the murmurings that you'd hear in the background, all that kind of stuff was really like, it was just so on point. Like, for what they were trying to do with this game, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. At the start of the game, like the first like 4 to 6 hours, it was just genuine fear. Like, for me, it was like, am I actually ever going to be able to get anywhere in this game? Because even seeing one guy with, like, the flame thing in his hand and the long axe, like, even that was something that made me afraid. And now, like, at the end, when you're, like, farming blood vials, those same guys that you were afraid of at the start of the game, you're literally just holding the sprint button and just pressing R1 as you run past them, just slicing them up. So the way that you develop in that sense is absolutely amazing and just so rewarding. Because I've never played a Soulsborne game before, this is my first experience with that kind of thing, and it's absolutely fantastic. In that sense, like, just in terms of raw gameplay and the way you develop and the way you get better at the game and you get stronger through your stats, you get better weapons, you're able to do more damage, you're able to handle more situations, more enemies at the same time. Like, that growth that you witness in yourself is just so fun, man. And I can't really say I've had too many experiences like it. So in that sense, it's really been a good time. I've definitely enjoyed playing Bloodborne. Enemy variety I thought was really good. I mean, I thought maybe... I'm trying to think, like, what else could there have been? I think maybe they used the kind of four-legged big enemy a bit too many times, perhaps. Like, that's one thing that I can think of. But I guess maybe during the game, so many of what you fight is just humanoid shapes on two legs that they thought, you know, we want to, like, add something bigger and more imposing in the boss battles. But before I continue, let's just see where we come back out to and what we can do. Does it just leave you free to roam around in the world of Bloodborne and just fuck shit up? We'll see. And I'll continue from there. Or is it you have to start a new game plus?
Good. All signed and sealed.
Yeah.
Now, let's begin the transfusion.
So you just start from the beginning.
Don't you worry. Whatever happens, you may think it all a mere bad dream.
So yeah, you reawaken at ISF's clinic with 132,067 insight. So that means that your insight loops. Not loops, but it stacks over multiple playthroughs. So yeah, you're back where you started. You've still got Ludwig's blade. Is it just as powerful as it was before, I wonder? It probably is. But everything is sealed and locked in the same way it was before, so you literally just start all the way from the beginning. Now, one thing I learned about this game while I was playing through was that it gets harder on every single New Game Plus playthrough that you do. So playthrough 2, the enemies are harder. Playthrough 3, they're harder, etc., etc., all the way up to playthrough 7, I believe. That's what I've heard about this game. That's insane. Like, I'd like to watch a walkthrough of the 7th playthrough and just see what the hell is going on and what crazy things are happening in number 7. But remember the fear here. It was just absolute fear. Got 3 blood vials straight away. So, I mean, it's a shame, like I said, it's a shame that you can't seem to split the saves. What I did was I tried to save to USB so that I have an old save. And I might just reload that one, to be honest, so that I've got access to the entirety of Yharnam. And I'll pick the other option as well to see what happens. It's funny, I stocked all them fire papers, and of course on the first attempt I ended up winning. That's how it goes. But those viscerals made all the difference. So yeah, this is the enemy I was talking about, this first one here. But look at this, I did 1,008 damage and only just died. So you can already tell, and I've got 742 blood echoes, so you can already tell the situation is a bit different. So I just head up to the first lamp, go to the dream, and I'll continue from there. It's amazing how different it feels now that this is the second time round. So let's see if Gehrman's only says exactly the same stuff. I'm pretty sure it's going to be exactly the same regardless. Then I'll just talk more as if this... I'm not sure if this like reloading my old save is going to work, but I'll give it a go. And if it does, that means I get to choose the other option with Gehrman and see what happens then, I think. But I'll talk as if I can't, so I'll finish up what I want to say about the game. And then I'll progress from there. So yes, the Good Hunter is back again. What about the shop? Is it back to how it was right at the start? Okay, I can buy all the nice things straight away. What about... Yep, so we're back to this. Yeah, these are the gifts again. I don't need them. And Gehrman is here once again. Yep, okay. So this is the story, my friends. Fire weapon. Okay, so what was I saying? Yeah, in terms of enemy variety, for the boss battles, I thought the biggest criticism I have of the boss battles is partly my fault, and I think partly the game's fault. One of the biggest criticisms I have is that for a game that's supposed to be so punishing and that absolutely kicks the shit out of you for the first like few hours when you're new to the game, the fact that as you go on, after the first few bosses, the game allows you to have an ally with you in the battle. I know if you play online, I think you can fight with allies anyway, but if you're playing offline, I don't see why the game would give you that option. I know you can refuse to take it, but as a first-time player, for me, like I didn't even know what it was until I did it and Henriette appeared, and then it was like, oh, cool, you know, there's someone with me. But now looking back on it, I kind of wish that those two boss battles where I had assistance, I didn't use them. So it would have been nice if they just didn't do it. I think that for this style of game, I think if you really, really need help, then maybe you should just play online mode and just play with someone else or something. So I'm not too sure I like that idea. The first one was just, you know, it's curiosity. It's a new player and you have an ally for the first time in the game. I didn't even know that it was, you know, specifically for the boss battle. So I just went with it. But the second one, because it crushed me so easily at first, I was like, let me see how it is with 2. And then with 2, we won fairly easily. So there was kind of no in between there. So yeah, that was something that I wasn't too happy with. I thought the amount of variety in combat was pretty good. I mean, each weapon has its own nuances. The visceral attack, once I learned that, that changed my life. Even though I didn't use it like a huge amount in terms of regular enemies, there were times when it came in clutch, like especially against Gehrman. I probably wouldn't have been able to win if I didn't get those extra viscerals in with the fire blade. So that was definitely something useful. Spin to win, of course. You know, for new people, I think the axe is very, very popular. I mean, when you can do this 360 degrees, it does a double hit. You know, this is going to be so important against so many enemies, especially when there's multiple enemies and stuff. It gives you range, it gives you an easy way to hit multiple enemies from all angles, etc. So, yes, maybe it's a little bit broken, maybe second time round or third time round or whatever, or just in general, you'd want to challenge yourself a bit more and don't use the axe. But for someone like me, I thought the axe was really, really fun to use, and I definitely enjoyed it. I expected maybe a few more outfits and a little bit more variety in terms of what they can do. Like, they seem fairly similar when I look at them. Like, here, I mean, there's only a 30 difference. I kind of expected a little bit more. Okay, well, doll clothes is a bit weird, but I don't know. Like, I thought maybe I'd end up with more by the end of the game. There weren't too many instances where I felt like I needed to switch, so I don't know how many more you can obtain. Maybe you could obtain 16 more in the playthrough and I just didn't get them. If so, fair enough. But I can only comment on what I played with at the moment. So there's that. the sheer amount of content in this game, the 4 altars, the amount of areas within each altar, the number of enemies, the number of alternative routes you can take. Then we have these dungeons all here. I haven't even got to the bottom layer of what this is, and then there's all of these still to go. So let's add in all of that as well. That would probably take me like another 20-30 hours or something. So there's that. Then we have DLC on top. I looked into the DLC, and it's something that I might buy. If anything, Bloodborne is a game that I enjoyed so much in that sense that I'd like to come back to it and play like offline and stuff from time to time. Like a second playthrough here, I think would be quite fun just to do on my own, you know, just to enjoy the game and just to enjoy the combat at a slightly different level as well on my second run. So I might get the DLC. To be able to play the DLC, you have to make it to Vicar Amelia, and you have to activate it and start it before you fight Gehrman. So in this current playthrough, I'd have to go back to Amelia to be able to play the DLC. But I'm going to see if I can reload the old save in order to be able to do it. So yeah, in general, Bloodborne, hats off, man. Visually, I was really, really impressed. Sound-wise, also very, very good. Story-wise, I can't really comment. I see what they've tried to do with it, and I think if you really do take the time to delve deep into it and to try and learn about all of the lore and exactly what happened here, and spend some time trying to make up your own interpretation of the story and the nuances and all that kind of stuff, I think that's going to be good as well. So I'm not going to criticize it for the story at all. That's more to do with me than it is to do with the game, because you know they've tried to do something here with the story, and there's a reason why it's been presented in this way. So I'm not going to say anything about that. The combat, I loved it. Like I said, boss variety, maybe like a little bit more, maybe too many like four-legged big beast style things happening, but in general I was very happy with it. Like the witch, for example, was a kind of a different one. It was pretty easy, but at least it had like a bit of a trick to it, and so was Mikolash. So I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that was another interesting one. I'm trying to remember. Father Dansg08 as a first battle is fantastic because he's just so hard, and he really does test the more skillful elements. So fights like Gehrman and Dansg08 are much more skill based, I think, than some of the other ones. Like the ones that are bigger, that one's just more about just kind of dodging, staying at range, and then picking your moment to come in and just like spin to win or use your big moves, etc. But with Gehrman and Dansg08, there was never time to breathe at all. It was like it was really intense, and that kind of 1v1 like high speed, like both players like strafing and like trying to get hits in on each other, getting viscerals, etc. Like for me, that was when Bloodborne came alive the most in terms of boss battles, personally. But yeah, that's all I have to say. For you guys watching, I just want to say that I'm sure it must have been very difficult to watch at the start, especially, and maybe even to the end. I don't really know what your experience level is and like, you know, how you feel about these kind of things. But if you have made it to the end and you watched this entire playthrough, you have my deepest gratitude. It wasn't easy for me to kind of go way outside my comfort zone and way outside what I'm used to and play this game. And for you guys that are used to me being a little bit better at games, like not dying so often and not, you know, having such a tough time figuring certain things out, etc., I'm sure it wouldn't have been easy to watch at times. But for me personally, these type of LPs should be, like, for people that like watching the channel, it should be some of the most rewarding type of LPs, because LPs like this have a bit more of a story to them in terms of like me and like my relationship with the game, because like, you know, Final Fantasy X and that kind of stuff is a bit different because I know the game well, or I know the world of Final Fantasy, I know how Final Fantasy works, I know what the items do, etc, etc. That's different. But here I was just kind of thrust onto like a desert island that was just full of things that could kill me constantly, and it was me just trying to learn and adapt and get better and grow as a player in this game. So I'm hoping that journey was fun for you guys to watch, because it's something that you're not going to get to see very often on the channel unless I play more of these games like Bloodborne and Dark Souls and that kind of stuff. So thank you guys for sticking with me. I appreciate it. Now I will probably be spending some time in the comments seeing what you guys had to say. Probably having to deal with some of the abuse I received as well for my crappier moments and my crappier decisions, etc. But I've had a few people trying to moderate the comments as well, and they've said that in general people have been nice, and I've heard that this is a community that does like to help out the newbie as well, so that's really good to hear. But as I said from the beginning, for me, I wanted to make this very much like a solo one-on-one me versus Bloodborne. You know, just no outside help, no online, no me going on like the Bloodborne wiki to find out what the boss's weaknesses are, etc., etc. Just like go in blind and just feel the full force of this game and all of its difficulty and what it had to hit me with. So I'm very happy with that decision personally. I had a great time in that sense. I have no complaints. Maybe in the future, like if I do continue to play through, and the bosses and the game really does get more difficult in the subsequent playthroughs, maybe I'll play online a bit. Maybe I'll do something different, etc. But in terms of my first experience with this game, I'm very happy with how it played out and the decisions I made throughout in general, except for accepting help when the game offered it to me. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with how it all went. Thank you for watching, guys. If you want to see me play some Dark Souls games in the future, do let me know. Do show the playlist some love, because these games do take a long time to complete. And for me, I have to always think about what do people watching the channel prefer to see. So if I've got 2 games that I want to play, so for example, let's say Zero Horizon Dawn is a game I haven't played yet and I want to play, and then we've got like Dark Souls or Demon Souls or whatever it is. If people want to see Zero Horizon Dawn more, then that's the game I'll play. So if you guys want me to play more games like this, play some of the Dark Souls games, then you're going to have to let me know. And you're going to have to show it in like the likes and the comments and that kind of stuff. Because that kind of stuff is what helps me make my decisions about what to play next. So thank you all so much for joining me for this one. It's been a great experience and a very different experience. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care.